Thank you for joining this Microsoft PPM webinar event, which is being jointly presented by Wellingtone, a leading Microsoft Gold PPM partner in the UK, and the Coal Authority, the government agency that manages the effects of past coal mining. So my name's Baz Kinder, and I am a Microsoft PPM consultant at Wellingtone and a virtual team member within Microsoft. My role is primarily to educate organisations on how they can increase their project management maturity and improve the likelihood of project success by using Microsoft PPM. Alicia.
Hi, I'm Alicia and I am the PMO manager at the Coal Authority. I've been with the Coal Authority for over 7 years, and for nearly 4 of those years I've worked in the PMO. I was heavily involved in the deployment of the Microsoft PPM solution and would consider myself a super user in terms of the technical administration of the system and also how you use it.
Thank you very much, Alicia. So this session will provide an insight into the project management pains that affect a wide variety of organisations, including government agencies, and how the Coal Authority have addressed those pains through their implementation of Microsoft PPM and the lessons that they've learned through the journey as well. And now let's have a look at the detailed agenda for this particular session. So we're going to start off by providing some brief introductions into both Wellingtone and the Coal Authority, after which I'll be discussing some of the findings from the National Audit Office report titled Delivering Major Projects in Government, and in particular I will be focusing on the challenges and some of the reoccurring issues that have been identified within that report. I'll then move on to a brief discussion around Microsoft PPM to really highlight some of the benefits and the features that are available to help address those challenges and to eradicate some of those issues that were uncovered by the National Audit Office. After that, I'm going to then hand over to Alicia, who will be talking about the Coal Authority's journey in deploying Microsoft PPM, and in particular she'll focus on some of the benefits they've already realised or hope to realise, and she'll also be sharing her lessons learned as well, which I know that she's looking forward to doing. After that, we're going to have a brief Q&A session, following which we'll end by discussing next steps. So Wellingtone, we are very much a specialist project management consulting firm. We provide a wide range of services that span consulting, training and recruitment. Looking at the consulting side initially, we help organizations install project management methodology, and we help set up PMOs. We also provide project auditing services as well, and we also provide project management maturity assessment. We are Microsoft partners deploying Microsoft SharePoint, and predominantly we also deploy Microsoft Project Server and Project Online, and I've got a list of clients that we've done that for coming up shortly. We are also a project management training specialist providing APM accredited training. We also do quite heavily provide customized corporate training as well. Last but not least, we've also got a specialist project management recruitment arm. We are accredited by the Recruitment and Employment Confederation, and whether you're looking for interim, contract or permanent staff, we can certainly help. And importantly for today's session, I do also want to point out that we are G-Cloud suppliers. So if you are looking to procure any services in relation to either project management or Microsoft PPM, then you can find us very easily on G-Cloud. Our client list is quite extensive, as you will see on this slide here. So we don't really specialize in a particular vertical. We have worked with quite a few government agencies, and we've got a number of case studies on our website as well. Implementation sizes of Microsoft PPM vary to quite an extent. The smallest implementation that I've personally been involved with was literally 5 users, going up to thousands of users for certain organizations. So it's certainly a very scalable solution. Alicia, over to you.
I'll start by telling you a little bit about who we are and what we do. We were established by Parliament to undertake specific statutory duties as set out in the Coal Industry Act in 1994. Those statutory duties include dealing with the legacy of coal mining, including the treatment of polluting mine water and mine gas emissions, remediating coal mining substance damage, and dealing with ground and mine entry collapses. So essentially we manage environmental and public safety issues caused by coal mining. To enable us to carry out our statutory duties, we receive limited funding from the government. Some of our income also comes from the sale of mining reports. We have a range of reports for homeowners and landowners which provide an assessment of the likelihood of a property or piece of land being affected by coal mining activity. Our reports offer expert advice based on our unique database of coal mining information, as well as our vast archive of historical maps and plans. We're also looking at ways to generate income from commercial opportunities, for example, selling our expertise in the UK and abroad, and looking at converting mining liabilities and mining waste products into assets. Some of the things we've done in the last year with regard to commercial opportunities are making our data sets available for use by others, winning new business from existing and new customers, and entering into our first commercial arrangement to sell ochre, which is a waste product generated by our mine water treatment schemes, and sharing innovation with water industry partners. So as a result of our heritage and of protecting the public and environment in the mining areas for over 20 years, we bring our experience to deliver more sustainable solutions to resolve the impacts of mining. And this slide says that our mission is to protect the public and the environment in mining areas, and our vision is to become a world leader in resolving the impacts of mining. Much of our mission and our vision is delivered by projects. So this slide shows some examples taken from our website groundstability.com of some of the projects we undertake. Almost 50% of our projects are to scope and build mine water treatment schemes. We build schemes to treat both coal and now non-coal mine water with funding from BASE, that's the newly formed Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, and DEFRA. Additionally, some of our internal work is delivered by projects, from large-scale IT tech refresh projects to the development of mapping layers that help identify suitable treatment sites for the type of mine water treatment scheme featured on this slide, and for the development of the reports that provide some of our income, and even the introduction of agile development to our IT department. So what I'm trying to get across is that we have a large portfolio of diverse projects that are managed in different ways.
Thank you, Alicia. So I'm now going to move on to a report that was published by the National Audit Office titled Delivering Major Projects in Government. By major projects, just to clarify at the beginning, major projects are major service reforms, large-scale ICT projects, infrastructure projects and construction projects. So this report did not cover the entire bandwidth of projects in public sector, just major projects. So to give you some fact around this, the total life cost of a government major project portfolio in June 2015 stood at £511 billion. And that portfolio is made up of 149 projects, and these are major projects again. And, alarmingly, 34% of those projects were in doubt of successful delivery, unachievable unless action was taken. So those are the key facts around major projects. You might be wondering, what are the key facts around other public sector projects? Well, unfortunately, that information is just not available. And as you can see in this statement from the very same report, it states, it is difficult to estimate the total number and value of public sector projects. And the reason often being that projects are being managed in silos on disparate systems, so it's virtually impossible to roll up that information. And as a result, many organizations, even departments, wouldn't really be in a position to state the number of projects they have within their portfolio or the associated value. Now, I know that this is not true for the Coal Authority, and Alicia, I believe you are going to be covering that a bit later. So let's now move on to some of the key challenges, in fact 3 key challenges to be precise. So prevent departments from making firm commitments on cost and timescales for delivery before their plans have been properly tested. I think it's a simple case of increasing project management maturity to address that particular challenge. Develop an effective mechanism whereby all major projects are prioritized according to strategic importance and capability is deployed to priority areas. Often it's a case of just doing every single project that gets proposed, whereas really what you should be doing are the right projects in the first place. Last but not least, put in place the systems and data which allow proper performance measurement. For me, it's a case of having standardized and objective KPIs in place that allow proper performance measurement. So moving on to reoccurring issues, the first issue we'll talk about is absence of portfolio management. And what we've seen is that many organizations simply don't have a centralized overview of their project portfolio, let alone a clear understanding of what project management is, or having access to a standardized, centralized toolset to help support these processes. This, for me, again, links back to a general lack of project management maturity. And step number one of increasing maturity is establishing those processes. That needs to come before the solution comes into play. The next issue is a lack of clear, consistent data to allow performance management. And although many organizations will collect standard KPI data, much of it tends to be subjective. And as a result, it's often inaccurate and you can't really rely upon it. And I'm sure that many of you have witnessed project managers always seeing the world through rose-tinted glasses. Nothing's ever amber or red, it's always green. Okay, we'll leave that there. Poor early planning. Again, a result of poor project management maturity. Good planning will increase the likelihood of project success. It's that simple. Lack of capacity and capability to undertake a growing number of projects, and I have already to some extent covered this on the previous slide. If you think about austerity especially, it's a case of trying to do too much with too little. Many organizations don't go through the process of prioritizing projects based on criteria such as strategic alignment. They don't look at return on investment or anticipate benefits. They don't take that into consideration alongside resource availability. They simply say yes to all projects. And as a result, they're simply taking on too much. And in some cases, they're trying to deliver projects that aren't required. They will deliver zero benefit. They shouldn't be running in the first place. Project, in order to get approval, should have a valid business case in place. So the next reoccurring issue is the lack of having clear accountability for leadership of a project. And if we talk about Prince 2 terminology for a moment, within Prince 2, you've got the senior responsible owner, or sometimes they're referred to as the project executive. This is the person who should be the visible owner of the overall business change. This person should be recognized throughout the organization, and this is the person that is the key leadership figure in driving it forward, whatever the benefits might be. And often, this role just doesn't exist, or if it does exist and somebody's fulfilling that role, they don't fully understand the role and responsibilities. This is again a sign of a lack of project management maturity. So just before moving on to talking about Microsoft PPM and highlighting some of the benefits that you can derive by deploying Microsoft Project Online or Microsoft Project Server, I did want to share this quote, and it's from the head of the National Audit Office. In particular, the quote that's highlighted in yellow, which reads, "I am concerned that a third of projects monitored by the authority are red or amber red, and the overall picture of progress on project performance is opaque." So again, this really does link back to the fact that people are being very subjective in their reporting performance. But really the underlying issue here as well is that there is no centralized portal that allows easy roll-up of objective data to show you how projects are performing. And this is not an issue that's restricted to public sector. Any sector that you go into, whether it's financial services, pharmaceutical, manufacturing, a lot of organizations have the same issues. So on the next slides, I'm going to start talking about how we can address some of those issues. In fact, what I am going to be providing now is a very high-level overview of the capability that's provided by Microsoft Project Online. There's no live demonstration within this session, but I will be sharing some links to some videos that I've recorded previously that give you a very detailed overview of the solution at hand. So looking now at Microsoft PPM, what you'll notice on the screen is that it does offer a lot of capability, a lot of features that will certainly help address many of the challenges and the reoccurring issues that I covered in some of the earlier slides. So again, a lot of capability here. I'm not suggesting at any point that you would roll out all of these features on day one. Most organizations like the Coal Authority would phase their implementation, and as a result they would realize benefits in a phased manner. So whether you're looking for a solution that will help you prioritize your project portfolio based upon strategic drivers, or whether you want a solution that will help you manage your projects effectively once they're approved, this system, Microsoft PPM, whether it's Project Online or Project Server on-premise, will certainly help tick those boxes. So at this point, I'm now going to hand over to Alicia, who will talk about the Coal Authority's experience of rolling out Microsoft PPM.
Thanks, Baz. So I'm just going to take you through the implementation of PPM at the Coal Authority. So our PPM tool tells us that at the moment we have 196 active projects of different size and shape across the organisation. Of those, we can say that 80% are on time, with obviously 20% being potentially overdue, and I'll come back to that figure later. We have over 20 projects completing in 2 years or longer, and we actually have over 40 members of staff that have some form of programme or project management responsibility. But we would not have been able to gather the statistics mentioned on this slide without the help of a PPM tool. So back in 2013, we recognised a need to improve and standardise our project management approach. And these are the original drivers we had in 2013 for deploying our PPM solution. So we needed to deliver more with the same. So it was essential to look at more efficient and controlled ways of delivery. We needed to support projects that cross-cut the organisation and with third parties because we were aiming to become more commercial. And because we wanted to be more commercial, we wanted to have credibility for reliable delivery and to maintain our reputation as an expert and valued public body. We needed to manage resources more effectively, which brings us back to that first driver of being able to deliver more with the same. And we believe that a PPM solution was an essential ingredient. So we were already using MS Project with varying levels of expertise as a desktop client. So moving to a PPM tool was a natural progression. We selected our deployment partner, Wellingtone, from a shortlist of 3. We had a series of on-site workshops with Wellingtone to discuss configuration and reporting requirements. Once they were documented and the application configured, we first deployed the tool within the PMO only to deliver our own projects. That gave us time to get used to it. We then rolled out the tool to the ICT team, followed by environment and research and development, and then followed by rollout on demand, which is still ongoing today, so we're constantly refining and improving the tool to complement the PM processes. This process of adoption and continuous improvement goes on all the time, but now we have a greater focus on training and support rather than changing the actual application. So we've now been using our PPM solution for approximately 3 years, and first I'll talk to you about the benefits before I scare you with the lessons learned. So it's difficult to talk about this first bullet point without touching on the lessons learned. So initially we allowed anyone to create a new project at any time, and we very soon realised that this approach was not working for us. So the PMO now controls all new projects. So we can advise right from the start on the project management methodology and provide training, and it gives us the opportunity to monitor those projects to ensure that they are achieving minimum standards, e.g. they have a sponsor, they are following a project lifecycle, they have an approach to benefits management, they've thought about risk management. The tool has definitely helped us to improve competence, particularly with regard to planning and the use of MS Project amongst the project people, including some quite technically proficient PSOs, which I believe are essential to the smooth running of the project teams. The tool has helped to highlight weakness in process. For example, projects without stage gate reviews, projects without any risks logged against them at all, projects which aren't following a life cycle, projects with no set baseline, confusion between what is a risk or an issue or an action, or projects without a board or a review cycle, so on and so forth. So we have got the opportunity now to address these issues. We have standard reporting in the form of the highlight reports, which are automatically produced from the system. They're easy to produce, and now our project board members know what to expect. They're always in the same format. So our analytics, so we're able to extract a number of projects that we have, the duration of the projects, how many are overdue, how many projects are not overdue, and there's really no limit to what you can extract if you've got the skill and the resource to do so. Capacity planning, so this links back to the resource management that Baz was discussing earlier. We have all our business as usual as well as our projects in the PPM solution, and we use the resource availability graphs to balance the two and identify where we need to backfill or transfer resource or prioritise work. And our line managers and heads of departments do this with the help of the corporate planning manager. We are able to link project plans to program plans using the deliverables and dependencies feature. So the program managers have a high-level view of progress, and then those high-level plans can be used as a communication tool internally and externally. And we also use the master and sub-project functionality to see project dependencies and highlight resource issues. Okay, this is my favourite bit. We're going to talk about lessons learned. So do's. Get support from the right champion at the top level. This is absolutely essential to your implementation of your PPM solution. It helps to have someone who is passionate about project management right at the top. Otherwise, people will struggle to see why they should change. Things just get done based on the experience, expertise and dedication of the staff. So they don't always see, and still don't always see, the inefficiencies and true risk of running a project without proper attention to its management. Essentially, you'll have local heroes who pull it off time and time again. You need someone visible with authority and passion getting their shoulder to the flywheel. So establish a process first. The tool will not solve any PPM problems on its own. It's essential to have a methodology and process which work before you add a PPM solution to the mix. Otherwise, you will end up adding to the problems you already have and you won't realise the benefits as soon as you expect. Okay, so I've already mentioned this, control the project gateway right from the start. We allowed anybody to create their own projects, which wasn't a good idea, as it led to things being created that clearly weren't projects, which devalued the management data that we expected to extract, and also led to projects with no controls and general inefficient use of the tool. Okay, so winning people over with examples of good practice. The length of time it takes to win people over and train them to use the PPM solution properly so they see the benefit was vastly underestimated. And because we let people loose on the system initially, we didn't have so many examples of good practice. They were kind of outweighed by the initial issues. Look for allies and treat them well. So look for your allies around the business. Look for people who are passionate about project management, people who will champion project management methodology and mindset, and who are influential at all levels, and then get them on board and get them to help you out. Okay, so you'll have an administrator that's technically competent, so your tool expert needs to be able to challenge change requests to the application. They need to be able to manage simple changes internally so you can be self-sufficient and respond quickly to users, but also understand the consequences of more complex change. They also need to understand PM methodology in order to maintain the tool in the spirit in which it is intended to be used. It's not just a database, it's a collaboration tool. So I'll come back to that last point. Then we have the don'ts. So don't release too much functionality too soon. Listen to your deployment partner. They will tell you not to do too much soon. Take it in small steps for quick wins. So as soon as we got the system in our own hands, we had a sort of classic case of thinking we could do more. So we implemented timesheets, the timesheet functionality, and the capacity planning too soon after deploying the tool. So we pulled focus away from improving PM maturity and capability, and as a result we had to work quite hard to put right the issues caused by this approach. Okay, don't underestimate the amount of effort required to train project managers to use the PPM solution, and especially MS projects. It's not just teaching people how to use the software, it's teaching people how to plan. It's also teaching people how to write a risk and understanding what's the difference between a key success criteria and a critical success factor, and so on and so forth. Also, don't make early configuration changes. This comes back to us thinking we knew better. You've probably, possibly all seen that classic project management cartoon where what the customer needed was a tire on a rope. If you haven't seen it, Google it. We got a tie on a grit rope, which was great, but we made configuration changes to the system very soon after go live based on what we thought we wanted rather than what was needed by the business. So we ended up sort of setting our tire on fire. So in terms of configuration, my advice would be to follow the KISS principle to start with unless you have really, really well established PM processes. Okay, and finally, so going back to my final do bullet point. This is perhaps the hardest thing to predict and plan for, I find. So we have about 196 projects. Our PPM solution is currently showing us that 80% of those projects are on time, but 20% of those projects are potentially overdue. From a PMO perspective, it is a never-ending task to understand why. Is it because the project simply hasn't been updated, or is there a genuine reason for concern? You need to think about what you are going to do with all the management information. For example, who is going to challenge those non-compliant projects? What advice can you give based on what you learn from the data that from your PPM tool, and who is best placed to act on it? Have you and the business got the capacity, capability, and appetite to address what your PPM solution can show you? And there's our contact details. I'd advise you to have a look at our website if you're interested in learning more.
Thank you for that, Alicia. Now we're going to be talking about next steps. So if you would like to explore Microsoft PPM in greater detail, we do have a few options available. First of all, if you would like to get a free bespoke demo either for your team, your department, or maybe across the entire organization, then that is something that we can set up very easily. We could deliver a bespoke demo either remotely, or we could do this face-to-face in person. If you would like to discuss your specific situation in greater detail and get more of a feel for what an implementation might look like within your organization, we can also provide on-site discovery days. If you would like to have a bit of a test drive and sign up for a trial, we can provide either 30-day environments, or if you're looking to do something a bit more formalized, such as a proof of concept, we can also offer 90-day trial environments as well. And these environments, by the way, can be provisioned on your own Office 365 tenant. So once the trials expire, you can transition to a live environment very, very easily. If you've decided that you would like to actually go ahead and implement Microsoft PPM in your organization, then again, please do get in touch and we can discuss the various options that exist around that option. However, if you are currently at a stage where you're looking to build up a business case, then I can't recommend highly enough that you go and download this particular report. So I've provided a URL at the bottom. Please go ahead and download that report. It's very informative. And here we now have contact details for Wellington and for myself as well. And you'll know that the session that I've just delivered didn't actually feature a live demonstration of Microsoft Project Online. However, that's not a problem because we have got some pre-recorded videos on YouTube and I've provided the links for those under useful links. So if you've got any questions, big or small, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Last but not least, I'd like to thank you all for viewing this session and we hope you found it useful.